Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1:01, so we can get started. Welcome to our virtual Computational Genomics Conference, which is co-hosted by National Human Genome Research Institute, which is NHGRI, George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia, the MITRE Corporation, and the International Society of Computational Biology. My name is Kamaljeet Sanghera, and I will be your co-host today with Kim Jacoby Morris from NHGRI. A little introduction about myself, and then I'll hand it over to Kim to introduce herself. I'm the Interim Executive Director of the Institute for Digital Innovation, also known as IDIA at George Mason University. My team supports the research community in the pursuit of cutting-edge work to shape the future of our digital society, while promoting equality, well-being, security, and prosperity for all. Before assuming the IDIA role, I was the Executive Director of STEM Outreach in the School of Engineering at Mason. I was also the Associate Chair of the Information Sciences and Technology Department there. I'm a founding member of Virginia Governor's STEM Commission. I serve on the Executive Board of Northern Virginia Computer Science Teachers Association. My program introduced one of the first BAS in cloud computing degrees in partnership with a two-year college. I kindly ask my co-host, Kim, to introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Cami. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's conference. My name is Kim Jacoby Morris, and I'm an education specialist in the Education and Community Involvement branch at the National Human Genome Research Institute, which is a part of the National Institutes of Health. One of my goals as an education specialist in the branch is to promote and improve genomic literacy so that the benefits of genomic science benefits all. NHGRI has been a leader in genetic and genomic research. The Institute is invested in funding and executing research at the forefront of the field. This opportunity to partner with George Mason University, MITRE, and the International Society of Computational Biology has afforded us to gather amazing speakers to share their experiences with you today. So Cami will now review the structure of the day.
Thank you, Kim. Really, we started planning for this half-day conference about 3 or 4 months ago. I came from computational side and inquired how cloud and data science is impacting the landscape of genetic and genomic research. I quickly discovered the wide range of computing methods that scientists have been using to investigate complex questions and work towards ensuring genetic and genomic advances that benefit all. We brainstormed on various categories and later narrowed it down to 2 big focus areas for this conference: a discussion with funding agencies and research use cases. We then decided to bring together a diversity of experiences within each section. So for example, you will hear today from NHGRI, DoD, and IQT under our funding support panel, and about AWS, Google Cloud, and Virtual Flow from Harvard University under research use cases. We will close the session with a reflection and a discussion on future direction with Alexander Titus. We know that no conference is complete without networking. We all miss seeing each other in person, making new friends, brainstorming new ideas as we meet others. To mimic that environment as much as possible, we will use Gather.town. Kim, could you please share what is Gather.town for those who have not used it before and how to access it?
Yes. So Gather.town is a platform that we can all access remotely at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Our amazing IT administrators, Gerald and William, can share the link in the chat area for Gather.town, along with a YouTube link on how to use the platform. So each individual will have an avatar, and you will navigate the layout using the arrows on your keyboard. There will be 3 rooms, 1 lobby area, 1 area for networking with our co-host, and 1 area for continued conversations with today's speakers. So I hope to see you there.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. Super excited about Gather.town and cannot wait to see everyone join us for an informal meet and greet there. Without further ado, I want to ask Andrea Norris to kick off the conference. Ms. Norris needs no introduction. Andrea serves as the Director, Center for Information Technology and Chief Information Officer at the National Institutes of Health. As the NIH CIO, she provides oversight of NIH's $1 billion IT portfolio that supports scientific research and discovery. She also oversees the implementation of NIH Strides initiative, which establishes partnerships with commercial cloud service providers to reduce economic and technological barriers to access and computing on large biomedical data sets to accelerate biomedical advances. As the director of Center for Information Technology, she's responsible for managing a broad range of NIH-wide information and information technology services. Prior to her tenure at NIH, Ms. Norris spent more than 10 years at the NSF, where as acting CIO and director of IT services, she was responsible for establishing the foundation strategy, policies, programs, and managing its information technology systems and services. One of her most notable roles before joining NSF was serving as the Deputy Chief Information Officer for Management for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, where she provided senior leadership and management of NASA's complex $2 billion information technology portfolio. Prior to joining the federal government, Ms. Norris was a management consultant at Booz Allen and Hamilton and served on the President's Private Sector Commission on Cost Control. In 2020, Ms. Norris was selected as a fellow in National Academy of Public Administration. In 2019, she received the Presidential Rank Award from the White House and the Senior Executives Association. She also received the President's Meritorious Service Award in 2008. Ms. Norris has an MBA with a major in Information Systems Management from George Washington University and a BA in Economics from the College of William and Mary. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Norris to stage.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that kind introduction, Cami. And thank you, Cami and Kim, and my colleagues from George Mason and from the Human Genome Research Institute. So it is such a pleasure to be able to spend time with you today on these very, very important topics of data science, computational biology. I have had the privilege of serving for the last 2 or 3 years on the Volgino School of Engineering, their advisory board, and that has given me just a wonderful opportunity to learn more about George Mason, the amazing programs that you have, certainly the School of Engineering, and just the depth and breadth of programs that you have there. And so it is just a delight for me to participate in today's program. So I'm going to talk today about share a little bit about NIH and then talk about what our journey and some of the highlights of things that we are doing in what we refer to as data science and the role that technology and computational advances has played in really changing in many ways the way we do biomedical research. And so if you aren't familiar with NIH, we are the largest funder of biomedical research in the world, actually. And we our singular focus is on advancing knowledge and applying that knowledge to improve health, reduce disease and illness, and lengthen life. We are actually a collection of 27 different institutes and centers, most of which receive their own appropriation from Congress. They range in size and in the area of focus that they conduct their research and efforts in is very specific to particular areas of health or disease. So to my colleagues at the Human Genome Research Institute, they are obviously very focused on all the advances in the genetic field of study and how that affects health and disease. But we have everything from the National Cancer Institute, which is our largest institute, a $7 billion organization, down to some smaller institutes, our Nursing Institute, the National Eye Institute, Drug Institute, Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. So each one of these institutes sets up their programs of area of science that in their field of area of research. And then, so it's a federated environment. Each organization typically has most of their work is funded what we call extramurally. Collectively, we support about 2,500 academic institutions and medical centers around the country. About 300,000 individuals are funded or supported by NIH. And we make about 40,000 awards each year through a very rigorous peer review, merit review process. We have about $45 billion collectively in funding of your taxpayer dollars. We also run one of the largest research campuses in the world. We have about 7,000 scientists on predominantly our campus in Bethesda. We have some other locations. And again, 110 labs and facilities where we are doing our own basic clinical and translational research. And we do significant amounts of training with postdocs, fellows. We invest very heavily. If you're conducting research in this country in biomedicine, it is highly likely that you receive support through and likely spent time at our campus in Bethesda. So if you are doing funding, you may receive funding from any one of the institutes. You could receive funding from a cross-cut of institutes in some cases, or from something like what we call the NIH Common Fund, which is something where it's a kind of a trans NIH type of funding opportunity. And so it's a fascinating organization that really focuses on everything from the most basic science to how life works, through the conduct of clinical trials, and then translating that research and creating new treatments and cures. Of course, we have been heavily involved in the COVID pandemic. NIH is actually the federal government's lead for research in COVID, and we have been investing tremendously in everything from detection and diagnosis to treatment, getting research and capabilities in for drugs and treatments, for prevention, of course, with the vaccines. The Moderna vaccine is a vaccine that was based on mRNA research conducted and funded by NIH. And then we're also doing a tremendous amount of research and support for health disparities, in particular with COVID. We have, and so I'm not going to talk a whole lot about that, but that has been a primary focus at NIH over the last year and a half. But what I'm really here to talk about is how the rise, advances in technology-enabled research over the last 5 to 10 years has really truly been nothing short of amazing. We have watched, I've been at NIH for 10 years, and I've watched that just the vast amounts of research that we've been able to generate. It's doubling at least every year. And it really started with genomic data when we were able to sequence the human genome when we, 20 or so years ago. The cost was originally millions and millions of dollars. Now it's well under $1,000, and that's at least $3 million less expensive than when we first did this. And so that ability to generate these vast amounts of data and then created other kinds of omics generation, imaging advances, Electronic health record, in the same window of time, we transitioned from fully paper processes to full adoption of electronic health records across our country. Environmental data, clinical data, much more automation of clinical data, even Fitbit data and other kinds of data, personal health device data. And so that's led to this whole new way of doing what we kind of call big data research programs, where we're seeing just tremendous opportunities for discovery in ways that we never could before. And let me give just a few examples of those. One is something we call our All of Us program. This is one where we are enrolling 1 million patients, 1 million individuals to provide your individual health data. So we're moving away from this one-size-fits-all, health treatment program where we're trying to get to more precise treatments based on your health characteristics, your life experiences, your genetic profile. The other big data programs, Kids First, where 1 in 33 infants are born with birth defects each year. And our Kids First program is developing large-scale data resource and infrastructures to help researchers anywhere around the world to look at both the biology of structural birth defects as well as the biology of childhood cancer. We have so many people in our country. The good news is that the rates are declining for cancer, but we have so many people still who are living with cancer. That's a reality today. And so we have built and are continuing to build these national data ecosystems across all types of tumors and cancers to enable researchers to share and access and analyze information so we can understand better how tumors are evolving, how we can better predict treatment outcomes, how we can better support patient symptoms and side effects. So these are the kinds of problems that we could not address very effectively before we were able to generate and then begin to do analysis against these incredibly wealthy and valuable data sets that the technology has allowed us to be able to generate. The unfortunate challenge, though, situation is that data right now across our ecosystem is largely disconnected. It lives in silos, it's in individual researchers' environments, it's not always secure. It's in forms and formats that are difficult to integrate. And it's very expensive to sustain and maintain and reuse by others. And so NIH was very cognizant of these challenges and wanted very much to get ahead of this in a smart and strategic way. And so about 3 years ago, we brought across using our external advisors from institutions across the country, and then internally from across all of our institutes and programs, and we developed a strategic plan for data science where we laid out pretty aggressive objectives, goals and objectives to really look at what we could do through our funding and through our programs to help support a national data resource ecosystem with the kind of infrastructure and set of capabilities that would assure we could generate, make data accessible, interoperable, and usable for all of the kinds of research needs that we needed, while still always making sure it was appropriately protected. And I would encourage you to take a look at that plan. It's posted on our website, and we still have we've accomplished many things under that plan, but there are still many more active programs and initiatives that each institute is involved in. This is really a trans NIH strategic plan. One of the things that was very important that we did is we established in our Office of the Director an Office of Data Science Strategy. Currently, Dr. Susan Gregoric serves as the lead for that office, and I would encourage you to go to the website listed there. She has put together and leads all of our trans NIH data science activities, and they are quite extensible. Primary focus is on making data, biomedical data, what we call fair, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable, but has a number of programmatic focus areas that each one of our institutes supports. And then within the institutes, they have programs, very focused programs and activities that are specific to their own organization. So these are typically institute unique activities and then trans NIH programs, focusing on what kind of infrastructure do we need to help build, not only for just NIH proper, but at the national level, working with all of our academic institutions and medical centers. How can we facilitate the development of that through our policies, through our funding, through our programs? What are the kinds of tools and analytic capabilities that are needed in this data intensive era of science? How do we effectively keep this community driven and continuously engaged? What are the skills that are needed for the data intensive biomedical research work? It is different. We see it's not just the kind of bioinformatics and computational science. It's also coupled obviously with the deep analytics. There's machine learning, artificial intelligence. We're seeing needs for program management and project management skills. We really saw that in this last year with COVID, where we had to stand up initiatives and projects in a very, very quick time frame. There were lots of interdependencies, which required some skill sets that, quite frankly, we didn't have at the ready. And so what are those skill sets that we need to be investing in? NIH provides funding at institutions to develop curricula, and then we train students to prepare, for their careers. And so, where is it that we need to invest there? In both the kinds of technologies, tools, analytics, and disciplines. And then what does that data ecosystem need to look like? And so again, I would encourage you, the website here is a wealth of information and resources about many, many, many things that are underway at NIH. I'm going to touch on just a few things here, given the time constraints, but I would encourage you to go to that website. One of the things that I think is really important when I think about NIH's approach to data science is we have tackled it from really kind of three critical perspectives. One is by policy. NIH, because we are the biggest funder of biomedical research in the country, when we issue policy, it turns the boat of our country in biomedical research. And so we are very, very thoughtful and very careful about the policy that we issue. It is a slow, thoughtful, concentrated process. Because we don't want unintended consequences. We understand the impact that our policies can have. And so our policy for data management and sharing, we've been working on for several years with deep and substantive engagement with the entire the national community. But we did release this late last year. It will be effective in 2023. That sounds like a long ways off, but it's really not that far when you think about it. And this policy is reflective of our commitment to the importance of and value of data and data sharing, and how and that data is so much of the output and product of our research endeavors. And that it builds off of our long-standing commitment, beginning with our genomic data sharing policy from many years ago. That we believe this is the way we can accelerate discoveries in biomedical science. And so we are now going to require in 2023 that anyone who is funded by NIH will have to submit a data management and sharing plan at the time their application is received. And that you must then obviously comply with that plan. And we've also provided supplemental guidance about what has to be provided in that plan, what costs can be accommodated and related to that. And what we want to see is that data is stored in established repositories where people can get access to this data. And so the kind of things that we are asking people think about as they ask for funding is, what kind of data will you be generating? What kind of tools, software, what kind of standards will you be following? How will it be preserved? Who will have access to it? How are you going to oversee this? How are you going to assure that it is maintained and shared and accessible? And how are you assuring the quality is maintained throughout the life of the data? And so this is an important policy change for our community, and it really reinforces the importance that we place on the data and making that data widely accessible to all science, so that everyone can benefit from the data and the knowledge that's been generated by federal funding dollars. Another critical aspect of our data science activities has been something that I have been personally involved with leading, which is called what we call our STRIDES initiative. And this is one where, big data, we realized very quickly we could no longer accommodate the size of the data that we were generating in our on-premise environments, or continue to fund the size of the data we were generating in on-premise environments at the academic institutions that we were funding. We had outgrown the capabilities of on-premise data centers and servers. And so we knew cloud was going to be the future for us in this space. And so we went to large commercial cloud platform providers, in this case, Amazon and Google, agreed to partner with us and said, we know we can't do this ourselves. There's no reason for us to do this. Would you be willing to go down this journey with us? We know we need to help move the research community into conducting their computational work and analysis in the cloud. We need to bring them to the cloud where this big data lives, where they can bring their analytic tools, they can collaborate, they can conduct and do their analysis there. They can leave some of their analysis behind for the next researcher. How can we make this happen in a way where we get some economies of scale, some cost efficiencies, and how do we help build the skill sets up across the country in a way that will help accelerate this? And so we went into a partnership. NIH went into a partnership with these companies and some of their partners in this STRIDES program. And we negotiated on behalf of NIH and any institution that NIH funds to be able to provide deep discounts on state-of-the-art data storage, computational capabilities, training, education resources, and other kinds of partnership agreements with these cloud providers. And we have, over the last 18 months, been very aggressively moving our big data programs and moving NIH-funded institutions and researchers into these cloud platforms. So for example, we have moved our sequence read archive. This is our public and controlled access data, sequence data. It's about 9 million records, petabytes of data, 36 petabytes of data. It's DNA and RNA sequence data. It's all publicly available unassembled read data and authorized access of human data. We've moved it all into the cloud in both platforms, GCP and AWS. You can access it right from your own device. And in fact, it was this. It was having this data in the cloud that when we received the sequence for the COVID virus, it was within a day or two, it was accessible publicly for all researchers to have access in the cloud so that we could get moving as quickly as possible in determining what could be done for a vaccine. We have enrolled many academic institutions. This is just a sampling. And we would encourage anyone who is interested. All of our big data programs are moving, and you don't have to be a big data program to take advantage of this, but certainly if you are doing data intensive work, that it is to your advantage. And so we are encouraging anyone who has got NIH funded research, any kind of NIH awards, to sign up and enroll for this. It's a pretty straightforward process. I've got the website there. You can reach out. We will follow up with you. It enables you very quickly to get discounts and access to a lot of resources in a community of practice that is going to provide you with a lot of best practices and other resources that I think you would find quite helpful. We have saved millions and millions of dollars by doing this, and for everyone who enrolls, it just adds to the cumulative cost efficiencies on this. So please do consider that. And we've got folks to reach out to you from NIH to help if you're interested in this. And why do these things matter? Why is moving to the cloud making a difference? So TopMed, under our Biodata Catalyst, this is a big data program under our National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. They were able to compress a year's worth of data processing into just a couple of months by moving to the cloud. Our sequence read archive, I talked about moving that. We were able to identify, they're doing a bunch of codeathons and other things to identify. They just did one with Stanford University where they identified some new known and unknown viruses across that using cloud-based analytics. And they're continuing to build up that cloud-based toolkit for analytics for researchers. This program, this petabase scale sequence alignment, they can do work now in 3 to 4 days instead of 12 months, which was very important for the work that they were engaging with for COVID. So really important changes in how we're able to move in a much more agile way, much faster, and in a much more collaborative way. And what we've also learned is that, we're not expecting anyone to move to a single platform or a single environment. We fully expect there are going to be multiple cloud platforms and multiple data environments. That's the reality for our world. So working to try and make it more seamless for researchers to work across those platforms. It sounds easy. It sounds it's a very noble cause. It sounds more straightforward than it is in reality. So I'll give some examples of things we're doing. These are programs funded through NIH's Common Fund, which is these are very NIH transformative types of programs that span all kinds of different types of areas of study of pain, cellular research, genomic research, therapeutic devices, imaging work. And so all moving this to a common data ecosystem with standards, common software, and all in the cloud, so that they can look across these to see if they can determine novel insights for complex conditions, new drug targets, new data-driven treatment approaches in ways that could not be done prior to the cloud and prior to these advanced technologies. Our Human Genome Institute is a key leader with their Anvil platform and program, big data, cloud-based program, along with our Heart, Lung, and Blood, our Kids First, and our cancer set of data commons, cloud-based resources, to look for how to have technical guidelines, standards, common portals, common analytic tools to allow a researcher to easily move across these platforms that are each one with powerful and have incredible data, resources, and tools. But to be able to then move seamlessly across them, to look, for example, of an example of genetic heart issues for infants, not only in the Kids First data platform, but also in the Anvil genomic data platform and in the National Institutes for Health, Heart, Lung, and Blood in their complex data platform and data portal. Without having to know different passwords, technologies, get approvals, different access rights, etc. All the way to things like how do you get common authentication to assure that you actually have the research rights to access data across what in some cases is controlled access because of the consent constraints or security controls around the data. The other area that is really important is the investment we're making in training and our workforce. And so I just want to share a couple programs. They're closed for this year. So we just actually did the cutoffs for them. But these are ongoing programs. So I would encourage you to keep your eyes up for, open for these. Again, these are not, we've been trying to do these repeatedly. This is a cohort program where people come on board for a couple of years to tackle some really serious national issues in health across a variety. These are like big challenge issues in data science, and they come on board, they're assigned to work to deal with these programs and are there for a couple of years. It's a highly competitive program. I would encourage you, if you're interested, to keep an eye on that. We expect to do it again next year. We've been doing this Coding It Forward now for a couple of times. It's been very successful. This is more of a summer program where we bring them in again, pair them up with different institutes, again in data science challenges that are of a shorter term and shorter nature. But they've been doing some amazing work. And then again, on our data science website, we have there is so much work that we are funding today that is tagged to data science. And every day this is updated on this site. And so just for today, there were more than 1,000 funding opportunity announcements that are all directly tied to data science. So if you are interested, and it changes every day, if you are interested in looking where you may have opportunities for competing or applying for awards or funding or training programs in data science, this is tuned specifically to data science funding opportunity announcements. And so I would encourage you to look there. So why does all this matter? The technology and the changes in the way we can approach science literally has changed the way what we can deliver and the speed and agility with which we can do it. And I will share a story. We're celebrating our 50th year anniversary with the National Cancer Act. And last fall, my daughter's best friend, 27 years old, was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. They thought she had COVID. And after a couple of months, determined that she had severe late stage 4 lung cancer. And after all the many talks I've given on our data science journey, the importance and what we've been able to accelerate and the advances I've personally watched in discoveries and advances for precision medicines, treatments, and therapeutics, I can't tell you how devastating that is. And if for those of you who've known and loved people who've gotten diagnoses like that, I know you know what that's like. But my daughter's friend turned out to be one of the 2% of the people who had the makeup of the tumor that we have a precision medicine drug for. That has just been developed over the last several years. And in just 6 months, she is doing beautifully. That treatment it's like a miracle. She is, by all accounts, doing incredibly well. And so when I look at the impact of the technology, how that's affected our methods, our ability to bring new tools, technologies, our ability to collaborate, to share, to accelerate that discovery, to work in partnership with industry, with our academic institutions, across teams with people around the globe in ways that we never could do before. I think about my daughter's best friend, and that's why we do it. It's all personal, right? It's all about the impact this all has on the personal health of our loved ones, our friends, and our family. And it has been just truly amazing to watch the acceleration of the changes that have occurred in this field and with these advances. And we're in such an unprecedented time with COVID. And I like to end with this quote. This is Dr. Collins, who's the director of NIH. With COVID, and what I will say is all of these things we've been doing with data science at NIH were all applied over the last 15 months with our work with COVID in just amazing ways. But science is usually a long game. And what we learned with COVID and continue to learn is that it can't always be a long game. And so we have taken the things that we've learned from data science, these approaches that make us more flexible, more agile. We've learned to think more out of the box. We've learned to look for where we can be more innovative, more quickly. And we've learned to work with new partnerships and at a much more faster speed. And that's the promise and hope of all of this work with data science and computational capabilities. And so we see nothing but opportunities for the future. And we're looking for tremendous progress from folks like yourselves who are participating in this event today as we move towards the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Norris. Thank you for sharing your daughter's friend story. Good to hear that she's doing well. As researchers, we love to hear how it is impacting our society and loved ones, and that's what keeps us going every single day. I also want to thank you for constantly thinking about resources and tools and services to invest in so researchers have what is needed to advance various fields of science. Thank you for sharing several resources, especially STRIDES initiative. These are exactly the types of initiatives that we researchers need to advance our computational work. Integration of various tools to data accessibility and security. These are big technical challenges to tackle with service providers. Truly appreciate your leadership and future thinking.
Thank you.
It's time to take a short break, and we will resume our conference at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.